Here we go live. So welcome everyone to Meshery development meeting. Today is 21st of June. And if you haven't marked your attendance yet, I'll quickly share the link again in chat. Make sure you mark your attendance. And if you got an agenda, feel free to add it in. And before we start the meeting, if you got webcams, don't be shy. Just put a shirt on and open your webcams. It's always nice to connect with face than audio. So we'll be starting off with weekly tradition to welcome newcomers. So if you are a newcomer, haven't introduced yet in this call, this is your chance. Sound off yourself, unmute, and give a quick introduction and say hi to the community. So do we have newcomers today? I'm just taking a quick glance at participants list. So Harsh Dobaria. So is this your first time? I think you joined. Still, I'll confirm.
Nope, Harsh has been around. And how about for Vaibhav? Maybe Vaibhav might have been here before. Verma, or is this the first time?
Seems like we got a shy audience today. All right. No issues. If you got some microphone issues or have a noise background, so make sure you say hi to the community in chat. So with that, let's move ahead. So if you haven't started the Meshery repository yet, make sure you give it a star, share it with your friends, college, community, and elsewhere. And do publish your first design to the Meshery catalog and receive a tweet from Meshery's Twitter account. So today we have a special announcement. So a couple of weeks back, we opened summer internship slots for LFX and Layer 5 internships. So this time we have 8 interns joined us. So in this summer cohort, so let's welcome them. So this time we have Usman, Abdullah, Ashok, Sanali, Arush, Hamza, Vivek, and Jamie joined as interns at Layer 5. So that's a very great news. So most of the folks should be available on this call. So make sure you congratulate them. And the previous interns will surely be writing blogs. So if you want to know how to land an internship at Layer 5, go check out the Layer 5 internship program. We have a quite nice list of FAQs over there. So make sure you give it a quick brief read and do read out the recent blogs which past interns have written or will be posting. So make sure you connect with them. All right. So we have a decent list of agenda items and a couple of good community updates too, I hope. So first up, let's move ahead with Abdullah's update on remote provider. So Abdullah, would like to take the stage?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect.
My update is a small one. It's regarding this PR that accounts for the changes to the endpoints in Meshery Cloud. This PR should be good to merge. There aren't any changes required in Meshery CTL, as I've left a comment for that, because Meshery CTL interfaces with Meshery server to interact with the provider, and since there aren't any changes to the endpoints in Meshery server, there shouldn't be any changes required in Meshery CTL as such. Other than that, yeah, that's it from my side.
Oh, that was quick. And
yeah, as long as the Meshery cloud is updated with the PR, this PR should work. Yeah.
anyone wants to add feedback or question, suggestion?
Oh yeah, I do. Just for I know Abdullah is doing a good job right now, I think, of clarifying a couple of questions that I had. And just to re-clarify, or just to make sure I heard it correctly, there's a couple of changes that he's putting into across APIs in Meshery server and some additional changes in Meshery cloud. And some of the, I think for the most part, those changes are additive, which a lot of times means that for the two clients that we have, Meshery CTL and Meshery UI, there may not necessarily need to be any change to adjust to those API enhancements, but sometimes there is. And so you probably just said it, Abdullah, but is there a particular sequence necessary as we consider the interlocks, you know, to make sure that all of those systems are on the same page, so to speak? Well, actually, I guess pun intended with page size.
I think the first step would be updating Meshery Cloud. Like I think there isn't both updates have to be rolled out almost simultaneously. I don't think doing one or the other first would lead to something breaking. I think the best approach would be that we have a release on both Meshery as well as Meshery Cloud at the same time.
Oh, okay. And no changes necessary for the clients in this case, then?
Yes.
Okay. And then, man, just to double check, I think my questions take longer than your update. Was it the case that so we're hopeful that all of the APIs are relatively consistent with a common, feature set, so to speak, row count and page size being one of those. Did you find, I'm curious, where did you find that was were we more consistent than we were inconsistent? Or, and have you looked at, I'm assuming you looked at all of the APIs in Meshery, well, all around, I suppose, but.
So in Meshery Cloud, most of the resource endpoints already had pagination. There wasn't that big of a change required. In terms of Meshery server, there's I've identified these many resource endpoints, and I'm going through each one of them. And I would say Meshery server has a lot more inconsistencies in the resource APIs than compared to Meshery Cloud. And answering your question, Meshery server definitely has more work to do, more work that has to be done. I will fill this sheet out and I'll be sharing it in the Slack channel. And once I've put up a PR, someone can maybe someone who's reviewing it can go through and audit it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, audit the spreadsheet or sort of audit the implementation of.
Since the next PR I'll be making would have quite a number of changes, I plan to supplement that with this spreadsheet to make it easier for someone who will be reviewing it.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Makes sense. That's great. Yeah. I can't help. So in Meshery, we've been using Gorilla Mocks, and Antonette, one of the maintainers, Miss Caldwell, she's been looking at potential other replacements, and I think we had identified the use of potentially the same framework that Meshery Cloud is using. That's not so much my question, I guess, as my question is, that one of the other maintainers, Uzair, and a few others had been working on getting the community and the project toward this schema-driven development under one of the objectives to have to ensure that like all of these APIs are implemented in a common way, and that they all do bring forth this ubiquitous like substrate of functionality: the page size, the row count, the search, the filter, the date sort, to this, to that. From your perspective, having just taken a look across, I think all the APIs, are we where can we improve? How can we ensure that when a new API is created, because I think there might be one being created around WebAssembly filters in the near term, how do we ensure that they're all adhering to and benefiting from common scaffolding, common library,
Yeah, sure. So firstly, the first step towards improving the REST APIs for Meshery would be like improving the documentation. Currently, the REST API reference on docs.meshery.io isn't up to date, I'd say. So that can be one action item for someone who is looking to get involved into contributing to the Meshery APIs. So currently, these docs are auto-generated using Swagger, and someone who's looking to get involved can go in and audit to see if the actual responses that are being generated match something that has been given on this page. Other than that, I think we have some documentation in the community drive regarding what would be the correct approach to building APIs or modifying them. Then,
yeah. One aspect, just to interject, one aspect of this is, well, trying to ensure that we have valid open API schema that represents each of the constructs. That unto its own will help drive some amount of uniformity between the individual systems that comprise Meshery. The thing is, I've seen us create open API schemas for a variety of constructs, and then I've seen us come back to change those or update those constructs and not necessarily always start with the change in the schema, which then gets us back into some hot soup with, not necessarily having a canonical source of truth for what that object is and what its attributes are and all the particulars around that. Uzair, do you have anything to add about being schema driven or the state of the tooling that we have, the state of the process that we have, the project has?
Yes. So I outlined some of the steps that we can take or start with in this issue that I shared. So as you said, like one of the tasks is like moving from Gorilla Mux to Echo Server, because most of the generators doesn't support Mux framework. So we need to move either move to Echo or Gin or similar framework. And the other task is like breakdown of this open API schema that Swagger generates by reading out our comments that we have for the handlers. So if you see, like, it is about 1,000 lines of code, so it is not easy to maintain and update. So first we need to break down this schema based on the API resources. So for APIs that concern with content, suppose pattern, applications, or filters, they should be grouped under one file, and it should include all the dependencies, like the request body for that API's responses, query parameters, and authentication schemes, and all those things. So first task is like this one. And then as Abdullah talked about, like improving our documentation. So there was some initial work done by Fidish, like using Redux tool to generate documentation based on the same open API schema. So this will help, like if there is any change in schema, then it will be automatically affected in our documentation. So it will be quite helpful. And the last task, like it is a major task, like generating server code and all the validation stuff. So for that, we have these tools under consideration: DeepMap, OpenAPI, CodeGen. If we go like you can specify all the descriptions and custom JSON tags. But the issue that I face, or I think we will face, is when we will want to update some of the API. So if we want to update new API or do updation or do the maintain task of our APIs, we will face the issue of like when we will regenerate all the code, we need to be careful, because otherwise if when you will regenerate, all the files will be replaced by the default code. So like all the handlers will be replaced by interfaces. So while regenerating, we should take into account all necessary care about if the file is already written, or from where this tool should look for the existing predefined types. So there is a part of like import mapping. So we need to ensure that we provide appropriate import types and mapping, and also maintain patch files, diff files. So yes, these are like some of the steps, but necessarily we should start with this first and second subtask. So yes, if any volunteer, like if any contributor wants to volunteer.
Hey, on number one, and there's some folks on the call that might want to jump into something like number one. Is this, and they may not even need a lot of prior context, is the task at hand really just either taking a long JSON document or YAML document and just splitting it into multiple files based on the start of like the definition for application, all of that going into one file? Like, is it? Yeah.
Yes, so if I can show you, I had some initial work for Meshery Cloud. So like, yeah, so this, yes, go on.
No, go ahead.
So as you can see, this is a resource, or this file contains all the APIs and all the resources that we need for these APIs for like applications. So all the schema, all the Golang struct definitions are defined here, and also like any query parameter that we need or response type we need are defined in this file. Similarly for like other resources, so capabilities or connections, credentials, all this stuff. And there are some also common files like which are like common to all the resources. So it is like UUID. So UUID is a defined type. So it must be reference same. Like it should be same everywhere. Or if it is an URL, then the pattern of that URL should be common for all in all the APIs. So this is how the splitted schema will look like. So these are some of the common parameters. So it will decide under the one file or responses. So like this. Hope you got the idea. And agree.
Do other people have questions? Pradesh, there's a couple of comments for you in the chat. Thibaut, couple of questions I'm hoping you might be able to answer, Thibaut.
Yes, I just read that. That's me.
All right. Thanks, Abdullah and Uzair.
Just real quick, in case Thibaut was having problems with his audio. Thibaut, did you have things that you were going to? I wonder are you able to speak to those questions now, or do you need a moment? There's a couple of questions in the Zoom chat that.
Yeah, I think I will need a moment, like
okay.
just to see.
All right, sure.
Cool.
Cool. So let's move to next item. Antonette has a couple of long lists. So Antonette would like to give an update on MUI, Redux, Toolkit, and lots of UI stuff.
Yes, so what I wanted to do was give a general update. I know it's been a long time coming since I first opened the issue about the packages removal, just basically clean up. And I've done several different prototypes, different branches to try to see what was the best way to do it, just to kind of ease it into the migration. I haven't really found an easy migration. So the only thing I saw was either start from scratch or just try to build on something else beforehand, like create the design system library and then use that. But then that means that's extra work to try to get that to maintain in order to put that into the current the UI directory. So I decided for the moment since then to start from scratch. So that means redoing the Redux store, looking at the current state that we have to see what can be moved into the store and what can be moved out of the store to be moved into just a simple state, simple context API, leave off, try to leave most of the complex to be used by the Redux store, and then anything that is very simple, even just like a button click, that can just be regular state. However, if it is complex, then just figure out a way to get it into the Redux store. So at this time, I know Lee had mentioned about a fork branch, and there was one, but then I changed to a different one that was actually working from the current videos that I have provided in Slack. So the branch that I'm working on is titled the Redux.js migration. I probably need to change it again, but I can give an update of how it looks. I know I have like I think so many fork branch, just different names, just trying to uh, naming things is so hard nowadays. So, but yeah, I can just share real quick to see where we are, and some of it just updating the open issues that I have on some of the components that can be reused. These are the components that can be considered for later when we can get to creating a library so that we can just publish it, import it, and that means redoing the work that we're migrating to. All you got to do is just replace it with the actual package, the import, and then there you go. You have the component. So instead of bloating the current directory that we have with the custom files, it's already in the library. So that would be something that I would like to try to work towards in the future. But in order to do that, I would like to try to get some of the custom components that we already have in place so it can just be moved over later. So so I can just share real quick and yes, so here is the converting the class component to function. I mentioned some of the ones that need to be converted, the easy pages. Some of the others are the others are the others I did not mention because there were a lot of custom components that can be just changed over. And so I'll make a note of it later, all the other ones that need to be changed. So, and let me see what the other, yes, so for the provider UI, I already created that as a context API. It's basically just put it in the context API and then just set it as a wrapper. However, it's not in the current fork branch that I have because I need to make sure that whenever you view the page, and if you are currently logged in, it needs to redirect you to the home page. I'm sorry, if you're not logged in, redirect you to the home page so you can see the login. If you are logged in, then just make you log in or whatnot. What do you call use the roles. And since Lee had mentioned about using casual, I did look into using that for the provider, but then I'm going to take that out because we don't need that. So basically just use a router, the Next.js router, just to sense that, hey, are you logged in? If you're not logged in, just redirect to the provider URL, see the login page, and then log in. If you are somehow logged in, I believe we still have the cast session to log you back in, or are we
Say
logging them out?
uh, um,
I know that in provider UI we have the timeout if you were logging in and then it would time out, but it's still not quite what do you call it's still not quite, because like when I go build mine and then I know for a whole hour it's supposed to do what it's supposed to do, but then when I go rebuild it, it will automatically say, oh, you need to log back in, and I'm like, but this should be brand new. So it just, but you know,
yeah. Part of it to help with that for momentarily, it's there's a significant component of that that has to do with access tokens that are generated from the remote provider. So in this case, Meshery Cloud. And if the access token is then stored in a cookie locally, and so that'll play games with, or that the presence of that cookie and the validity of that access token doesn't provide you with a direct answer to the question that you're asking to like explain the behavior, but it's like it's core to a core component of the behavior that's occurring. And that access token is, it's actually, I think we're still in a slightly confused state. Uzair is one of the people that has worked on it. There's maybe a few places that are trying to administer control or enforce control over what's valid and what isn't, or when something expires and when it doesn't. There might be a difference between the cookie expiration and the JOT token expiration, and there might be some confusion. And then there's the provider UI, Meshery UI. There might be some confusion between where those timeouts are. I know that I've experienced the same thing that you're describing.
Yeah, when I went through provider UI again, I was looking at the authentication session to see how long it took. It can be improved, but yeah, whenever I get to it, I get to that later. There might be a way. Oh, sorry, looking at the chat. Okay. And then I think I have one more, and then I can share in a minute. Oh yes, for just an update on Codemirror, I didn't forget about that. I do need to get because Codemirror is within the flip card, and so a few months ago I was trying to see if there was a better way to improve the performance on the flip card. I did get it flipped, but then I had it like I was trying to get it to be movie version 5 component, because before we were using the version 4 and generic on the div, and so I got it somewhat working now, but I still need to get it to be fully laid out with the current content to have the editors to be placed in there. So I thought I had it working a few months ago. Now I got to go back and add it back on there. Apparently I didn't. I thought I did, but I didn't. So now I got to go back and add it back on there, make sure that the editor works, and then add on the that package that you mentioned to me that you wanted, the YJ something, yeah. So that we can do a real-time collaboration. That I'm looking to see, because we're revising the Redux store, it's possible to use the Redux for that portion just to handle some of the state, but then the rest of it will just be with the WebRTC and so on and so forth. That's the, and then lastly, yeah, that one, the wire Codemirror.
Yeah, this would be a win in terms of new feature functionality for folks to be able to type at the same time. I'm assuming that it would be an inappropriate use of Codemirror to do single input field to facilitate single input field collaboration, because it's much more meant to be a large text area with a bunch of features and syntax highlighting and all of that. It's just that we do also have the use case for multiplayer or collaborative single text field editing. So anyway, something to maybe relevant to this, but perhaps not something that Codemirror would take care of. Anyway,
well, the good thing about it is that Codemirror, because Codemirror 5 was based on the legacy, how you do things with the static way of HTML, CSS. It wasn't taking into account of all of the build tooling that we have with rollup and whatnot. So they revised their whole thing to use rollup. So now you can kind of use it with Webpack and so on and so forth. So it's easier to use now, but it's more customizable. So change colors, you can change the state, so on and so forth. And then lastly, just a reminder of the original issue on the UI framework and the library packages, upgrades, and the removal. If any of the packages that you do see that are not being used, or you need to use, or you feel like you may need to use and you want to use it, please update that issue. It's still open. I want to make sure that, over time that we're able to remove some of the packages that are no longer being used, because that will increase the work on the open PR from Dependabot, when it keeps saying, hey, you need to upgrade these, and it turns out we're really not using it. So just a reminder that we still have this issue open. So. All right, I can go ahead and share just real quick, and then we can move on to the next part. Okay.
Nice, very good. Antonette, did you? Yeah, you are going to share. Okay, good.
I'm sorry, it's just real quick, and I know all of this is here, but just basically there's no data right now. It's just because Redux have a new feature now with RTK query, where you can just use that as for your API. So anything that you want to fetch from a server, it can be put in there. So anything that we were doing with Redux Saga, Redux Thunk, and Redux Observable is already supported natively in Redux Toolkit. So all we got to do is just migrate some of it and see which one worked well with Redux to handle, and then anything else can just be, within local state, static state, or whatnot. So here's the home page. So I have up here the similar to what we currently have, but the toggle mode, it can be changed. I have let's see, I created a context API to try to help with the title change. It seems to be a little buggy with Redux on doing it. So for right now, it's with the context API. We could change it back to Redux in the future. And I have this here. Now, the problem that I have here is when you go to click on it, it's making the slide down go attached to the actual component. So I need to revise that to not have that happen, because some people will try to click on that button. It would do that. And Gav, I understand we need to do a time check in a minute, but and lastly is the settings. And as you can see, the title's been changed, generic tab, and
I can't believe that you don't have things charged after like a week with no electricity. I don't know what. Oh, she can't hear me harassing her. That's too bad. Anyway, Antonette just had to survive some severe weather, so I wouldn't be. Antonette, can you hear me now?
Yeah, my headset went off, so I didn't hear anything you just said. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just didn't know why, after like a week with no electricity, why, your batteries aren't fully charged. I don't know why not.
You would think so, but
Yeah.
I'm not good at charging my headset every day. So
Yeah.
it just but yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, basically that's where we are. Like I said, here this is kind of working. The setting redirect to this page. The dark mode, light mode. Dark mode, light mode. The theme toggler is as a context API. It's in the current UI is used as a local storage. I can revise it to do the local storage, but it would just be within its own component, separate from the header. And so, well, in the header file, so that just to kind of clean it up a little bit. So if you need to make any changes to the toggle mode, you can just do it within the context API instead of just change it in the header. So that's the update that I have here. I have more, but it just I just didn't add it on here because it's But anyway, if anybody have any questions, I do have the fork branch. You can work on that. I know that we possibly have somebody else that I see that somebody else is already working on it too. I do want to point out I have considered using TypeScript, but it's too verbose for some of the things that we have. And while I already have a branch that is completely, focused on TypeScript, but somewhere in the future we can do that. But for right now, with the changes, I wouldn't do it right now. Maybe later, once we get everything converted, use the movie version 5, get the library going, then we can do it then. So that's it for me. If anybody would like to
Yeah, there's a couple of Abhi's got a question.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, if TypeScript is so hard for us, can we set up the Flow.js instead? Like it could be, first of all, there are benefits that we could, do it in, I mean, we don't have to actually include Flow.js completely in our project, but we can start with 1 or 2 or 3 files and then move on gradually. So if you're considering a type system or something of that sort, like Flow.js is a good one in my opinion.
All right. So next up we have Vaibhav, and I believe couple of Vaibhav's item regarding Meshery UI refactoring is covered by Antonette. So Vaibhav would like to give an update on your PR that you have mentioned.
Yes. So yeah, I think a lot of the things have already been acknowledged. So I'll just move directly to the update. So I haven't raised the MI yet, but I will show my progress now. If this allows me. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So right now I have figured out everything. To be honest, I just have to create an MR and just call some functions. By the way, you guys can see my screen, right?
Yep, we can.
Yeah, sure. So so as I've said, I figured out almost everything, how to deploy and everything. I just need to call those functions. Right now it's just like this. It's not calling anything, but I know where those functions are and just need to connect them. Apart from that, I needed some feedbacks on like how to deal with this, since this is a very long sentence. If you see, this is pushing this icon down, which makes it look very awkward. So what do we do about this situation? So one thing we can do is either give it space more or make the card bigger, but then we have to make each and every card bigger for the sake of consistency. So Yeah, need some feedbacks on this. Hello.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was so wrapped up in other feedback that yep, great. Very nearly perfect. You might be able to.
Yeah, so so just needed feedback on this. So what do we do? Do we make this font smaller, or do we just make the card bigger?
If
Give the
we are not, yeah, if we are not like fixing the card height, it would be better to. I am guessing you are using grid to display the cards. So
yeah.
we could, yeah, if we could like give the card 100%, it would automatically adjust according to the largest height of an individual card. So that way, all of them will have the same height. Uh, Also, that would be helpful when we are planning to use this, like make this responsive by not having a fixed height.
Okay.
So maybe trying something with grid. With
Yeah, I am using the right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. So any other feedbacks?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add one point that in that I can see one card that in Meshery adapter for network service mesh, I don't see a gap between that logo and open adapter docs. So can we add
because
some
that,
margin?
yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Because
Hmm.
header is so big that it has pushed the icon itself. That's why it's like
Okay,
pushing down. That's it. Yeah.
okay, got it. Rest is good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I'll just make this 100% as the first person has suggested. Okay, so apart from that, I think everything else has been already acknowledged. So I'll just stop sharing my screen. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Bish, do you know? Do the does it work? Does the toggle switch do its job?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, right? So I haven't like connected the toggle itself to the function, but I know I've already like know where the things happen. So I just have to like call that function itself in the toggle. I mean, it will be done in like half an hour or so. Yeah. So apart from that, just one thing I wanted to mention was like the inconsistent use of semicolons, and I think in total the ESLint things. So the code itself, I mean, I don't know how to put this, but itself is not very breathable or not very easily readable, because I think we're not using ESLint fixes in the pipelines or the build in the I don't know what to call this thing in GitHub, but in GitLab it's called jobs. So basically the jobs run. So basically I don't think we're using linting job in GitHub. So, or even for like local, I think this lint fix doesn't do much, to be honest. So I think there we need to see like how to give a code like a proper formatting and stuff like that. Yeah. Other than that, I think everything is covered. Yeah.
For the inconsistent use of semicolons, like first off, like there is a pre-commit hook. Like whenever you commit on your changes, like there will be a pre-commit hook that will run, and it will actually fix all the ESLint issues in the project. But as you're saying, like the ESLint itself is not sufficient to maintain the consistency of the use of semicolons, because that's coming from the ESLint config. So it's very likely that in the ESLint config, the semicolons are marked as optional, and it is not marked something as important or sorry, required or something like that. So it is optional. That's why if you provide the semicolon, yeah, it will be there. If you don't, then it won't. So in order to make things consistent with the help of with semicolons at least, so we probably have to modify the ESLint RC file, and that will do it. So
Oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Or maybe we can think about using Prettier, if that makes sense.
yeah, I think ESLint RC and Prettier both are used at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah, they are both used simultaneously.
Okay, cool.
All
So
right.
apart,
Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So just one last thing. So the last thing that I noticed was like the inefficient import. So by inefficient import, I mean like so if you have to like import something, you will like importing that directory in that specific file. Or I mean, what I suggest is we can use something like index.js and give our code a more proper structure hierarchy. Like I was seeing like in components folder, a lot of things were just there, but they were not like proper directory or anything. So maybe we could use something like index.js to like give that a path or something. I mean, just open for discussion for this. Yeah.
Oh, well, I agree on that part. That's whenever I was looking at the port branch that I'm working on is to move some of the common things to be within its own directory, and we can also use the index.js to export the import. So instead of having multiple, so yes, that will we can do that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, sure. Okay, I think that's it for me. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, Vaibhav. So next up, we have an item on hierarchical relationship policies from Uzair or Abhi.
Yeah, Uzair might be talking about the first stage, but let me just share the context. Like Uzair is working on a hierarchical relationship policy that will actually add a parent-child relationship. By hierarchical relationship, you understand it like it is a parent-child relationship where one node uh, is wrapped under another node, and those two nodes are identified. I mean, they are identified as a parent, and one other is a child. Like one is identified as a parent, and another is child. So this is one of the screenshot where a different type of hierarchy is being shown. I don't know if it can be called a hierarchy, but a different type of relationship is being shown. Like the two nodes you are seeing here, they are connected with the edges. So this is one type of relationship. Network or edges is one type of relationship, and so is the hierarchy, which is another type of relationship. So actually, we are working on the hierarchical relationship where whenever you drop any component or whenever you are designing your Kubernetes infrastructure or anything in the mesh map or even in the design configurator. So there must be some policies that would automatically, identify all the relationship between different components. Right now, we can do it for edges, as you might be seeing here. But right now, we are, adding support for namespaces and parent-child relationship as well. Just to read it out, I mean, if you want to, contribute to this PR or understand about what's being happening here, so you can go to this playground link, and if you go there, yeah, if you go there, you will be actually able to run the policies. Like this is the policy against the input data. This is a design file, and this is the actual relationship JSON schema. So you will be able to evaluate it. You will be able to, I mean, make this policy better if it has any flaws or not. So yeah, that's open for you. More about it, Uzair will talk. Uzair, you like to add something?
No, you mostly cover all the points. So like just one thing is left. So the issue that we were discussing, like if there is not namespace present in the design file, then we need to automatically create. So the PR that you raised, like in which you were just combining the namespace and the components. So I think yes, like we need to merge your policy and my policy into one thing so that both the things are covered. Like if there is a namespace, then we can add that, and if there isn't a namespace, then we can list that namespace and give it to client so that on the Cytoscape we can add that. So yes, by this, like if we'll not combine and use only one of the policies, then we need to do it in 2 steps. So instead of doing in 2 steps, if we will combine, then we'll be on better side.
Yeah, sure. Other than that, like this PR is probably not ready to much because there are some hard-coded changes that needs to be actually changed before merging it. And I had opened a discussion in the OPA as well, which I received an answer for to query for multiple things by after the evaluation of the repo policies. So yeah, it is a good contender of changing this PR to a draft or not. Otherwise, Lee will merge this PR.
Oh yes, regarding this, like if you can go in again, go to files change and like in the hardcode part that you were talking about. Can you go to that?
Oh, you are telling
Yes.
me.
Yes. So in this, like if the part that I'm providing for like inputting a relationship definition. So if I provide the entire directory, so when OPA is merging over all the relationship definitions, so it is not able to merge because there are conflicting keys. So that's why I needed to hardcode, because there are same keys, like in all the definitions we have selectors and kind and name and everything. So when you are like combining all the definitions into one and inputting as a data, it is not able to perform the merge. So that's why I needed to hardcode. So probably we need to like.
Okay. I don't think it should be any problem. I mean, if there is, then you need to change the keys in the your policy files, because
Not in the policies,
the
but in the relationship definition. And like policies are okay. Like policies evaluate and give the results for network as well as hierarchical at one go. But the data I'm providing in the definition, like like selectors and allow fields and deny fields and name, kind, model. So there's the conflict happen.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see about it. Yeah, when I run it in my local system. But yeah, okay. Thanks for telling me about this. So yeah, that was the first update. Since we are very in a time crunch, I'll quickly go to the mesh map snapshot as well, which is just a pointer for all of you to just another repo for all of you to contribute to. I might have forget to link it, but yeah. So the
By the way,
screenshot
in order for people to contribute, though, the repo has to be updated with the template stuff for the workflows and for the labels and for that comment actually goes for Antonette as well. Antonette, as we get further down the path of the UI refactoring that you're doing, is it sitting as a branch or is it a separate repo? If it's a separate repo and you've gained the traction that you have, we might want to in order to facilitate community contribution, we might want to, in order to facilitate community contribution, we probably just want to move, if you haven't already, we probably want to move it into a branch so that by the way, there's a long, sorry to interrupt, Abhi, there's a long hit. So even Yash, one of the mesh mates, is unaware of this, that, I don't know, was it like 6 months, 9 months? We were working on a new version of the UI that was to include Redux and just do state management differently. And so we've got a spreadsheet that tracks all of the, Abhi, I didn't mean to completely take over what you were saying, but there was a large effort. There's a whole design spec written about how it is that we're going to do state management differently in Meshery UI. And I don't believe that it's worth necessarily reading in so much as it's stale at this point. And some of the things that Antonette just said, or the world has moved a little bit forward. And so she has a better approach that she just verbally articulated. We may want to, Antonette, we may want to either make a new one of these or see if it's easier to just revise what this is, come back to look at potentially tracking the, like, so a lot of this has been, we need to go back and figure out if how much of this work that's been done is actually usable. So these components, Abhi or Gaurav, I don't know if you remember, these would be MUI5 compatible. Okay, and so, you know, granted, some of this will be out of date with some more recent changes in Meshery UI, but there's a fair bit of work that the community had done that should be assessed as to whether or not it's helpful. And it might not be. It might be, but anyway, as Antonette takes this initiative and steers us towards a more modern set of frameworks, and as we go to re-implement the UI at the same time, or ideally in advance, like now, we need to be doing completely new UX designs on what those screens are. And so there's kind of a call out for that as well. So just sort of, yeah, so that's a lot to that. So we would do well to have a design spec that kind of ties things together, that says, here's that also lays out an edict about the development process. So some of the things you were articulating already, as you were just giving the demo, of like, hey, you don't need to track that state here, you track it like this, or, you know, for these use cases, this type of state management works, or update the context, track the context like this. And so it feels like, or at least of what the demo that you'd given, like, and of the work that you've done, I suspect we'd do well to help formalize some of this, and especially as others in the community come to bear on it and come to help, you won't have to repeat yourself. You'll be able to point them to here and say, okay, you know, here's how and here's why we're not yet to a point that TypeScript is being used, or, you know, whatever those questions are. I didn't mean to switch.
Well, yeah, no, Lee. Yeah, I know Abhi is like, oh my God. But no, to answer to your question, it is a fork branch. I have mentioned before, I have created like separate repos, but that's only because I was trying to keep it separate from the, you know, from the fork PR or branch, whatever, to avoid the conflict. So it was just a matter of just a clean slate and just make sure that I can see it separately. However, answer the question in the chat, I have considered moving into the master branch, but the problem that I saw, it might not really be a problem, but the problem that I saw was that the backend expect the UI and the provider UI location. So while we can create another route to be considered for the new directory, just trying to keep that overhead just a little bit low. And so I kept it with the fork branch. I understand about the conflict, but I actually created a brand new directory so that we can just switch everything, you know, in the future. But if you have any suggestions to make it even better, I'm open to it. But yeah, even if with the new repository, it was something I considered to move over to layer 5 anyway. But yeah, so any ideas, just let me know and we can work around it. So yeah. But yeah, so just to know, I am aware of the issue. I want to bring it into master, but I don't want to create, you know, a confusion. So yeah.
I think for the most part, only the inflection point for you to use to measure is as other contributors come to bear, or like at that point in time, that's probably the inflection point for all the overhead of managing the contributions, being able to accept them for DCO, for workflows, for secrets, for like, and so yeah. Anyway, you'll be able to. You're the best measure of that. So. Abhi, you were gonna make a call for.
Yeah, so A1. I pasted the link in the meeting minute as well. So Gaurav, you might share your screen.
Yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah, so this snapshot repository is a work in progress right now, so might need some contributions as well from you all. There are some issues in the issues tab which might need some love, and what we want to, I mean, one of the example that I mean, when I was sharing my the PR about policies, so you might have seen the screenshot service which was actually screenshotting my infrastructure and providing it in my pull request format. So that was actually the whole backend or the whole thing behind that working prototype is what's written in the mesh map snapshot. So you might come here and experiment with it, check with it, and yeah, that's what I want to say.
All right. Thanks, Abhi. So since we are 3 minutes over, and let's quickly take a look at Discuss Forum monthly highlights from Vivek. So Vivek would like to quickly give an update on this.
Yes. So hoping my screen is visible to all. So hello everyone. We are back with the discussion forum monthly highlights. So we will be going through some of the discussion stats, and then we'll see who are the most active contributors for the month. So first, let me introduce, our discussion forum needs no introduction, but still I'll say the ways in which you can post to discussion forum. So first is you can go to discuss.layer5.io, then login, and then you can create new topic, or you can interact with the discussions that are going on. And second is you can make use of this convenient / command in the Slack channels. So you can use /discuss post and then n. So n specifies the number of the position at which your message is. So if my message is the latest message in the channel, so I'll use /discuss post and then 1. And similarly, if it's at the second from the latest, you can use 2. Okay. So that are two of the ways in which you can post to discussion forum. Second, let's take a look at some of the stats for the month. So these are the stats. So signups. So signups are basically number of user registrations. So for this month, we had 85 compared to 57 of the last month. The new posts. So posts include like your replies and comments. So for this month, it was 147 compared to 96. The new contributors are those like who made their first post. So it was 25 for this month compared to 17th last. Then accepted solutions. It is pretty bad. I mean, we need to work more on it. So we'll be following up with the folks, and there's a need of understanding what the issue they are facing. So yes, it's 8 for this month, and it was even low for the it was even lower for the last. So yeah, a checklist for me. And then MAU, that is monthly active users. It's like the number of unique users who are engaging on the community forum. So it's 13% for the month, but it should be like 20, above more than 20%, but it's 13. So we need to encourage more and more number of folks to like interact on discussion forum, because Slack chats are temporary. So yes, the new likes are 92, and then yes, trending search term is Meshery. Okay, so now take a look at the most active contributors. So they are like Savio Diaz for in terms of likes received, and then Vaibhav Maurya for like posts created. So like Vaibhav's been consistently asking questions and like seeking feedback, helping others. So a big round of applause for Vaibhav and Savio. Are there two on the call? Vaibhav and Savio?
Yes, I'm on call. My name is Vaibhav Maurya.
Yes, like really, you deserve something like big round of applause and good work. Like keep asking questions, and yes, we'll try our best to provide solutions.
Thank
and
you.
same for Savio, is a like consistent community member, and has been helping folks since long now. So yes, they were the stat for discussion forum, and yes, keep asking your question in discussion forum, and yes, that was it. any question, if you have, then I can like take them, or we will wrap up the call. We are always like already 7 minutes over. So
yeah, looks good. Savio, Vaibhav, you're doing great job. We encourage everyone to do post on Discuss forum actively as you can. All right. Thanks, Vivek, for the quick update. So since we are 7 minutes over, so I'll quickly mention. So make sure you subscribe to the community calendar if you haven't, and if you haven't got your fill today, so do join this week's newcomers call. That's on Thursday. So you can catch the recording of this live stream on YouTube channel. So do subscribe it. And yep, that was it for today. So let's call it a wrap. So thank you all for joining today's Meshery development meeting. We'll meet you next week, same time, same place. Bye all.
bye everyone. Bye.